Jesus.
And we'll see if we are live.
If I'm going to be sharing my screen, where do I do that? In Discord? If I'm supposed to share my screen, I think you want me to do that, right?
Discord. You share it in Discord.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. And I'll follow you in Discord. All right, welcome everybody who is joining us. This is my first time. Normally I do this with 1 or 2 people. Today we're doing it with 4. So pardon the setup difficulties. We have David Lewis, who is a longtime MMX contributor, and Eric and Andre, who's joined us before. We are going to do a deep dive into reference geometry today. We're still building the music box for the Winter Garden paper-fed music box as a practice project for redesigning the entire MMX in SolidWorks. And just background here is that we, when we do the Marble Machine SolidWorks, if we were to do it right now, one of the biggest concerns we have is that Martin is always changing stuff. So the intent is to have a model which has a top-down design architecture, has lots of very good parametric design references, and make a model that can last, that can withstand a lot of changes without breaking the model and making it too cumbersome to use. So the last few weeks we've been kind of designing this music box. Last week I convinced David to basically volunteer to redo the reference geometry, which he has done, and we are going to be walking through that with the music box, and he did it a completely different way than I did it in SolidWorks. So we're going to go through that, and then we're going to discuss what he did, why, and either think that we like these ideas, or we're just going to discuss all of that. So that's the outline for today.
I have a quick question. Which assembly should I open here? Is it the one that says Assemb1?
If we're talking about mine, then it's MB2.
MB2, cool.
Yep. So the one thing I need to do still from setup is to, are you sharing your screen, David? Right now
I can right now if you want.
Yeah, please do. So how do you want to do? Do you want to try you kind of touring us through, or do you want to coach me through touring through the model?
I'm open either way. I don't have a preference.
All right, why don't you share, and then I will.
Oh, geez. I have to quit Discord for a second. I'm sorry. The only way for me to share a screen is to quit it.
Okay.
What?
So I'll be right back.
All right.
Cool.
All right. In the meantime, let's see. So on my screen, we're looking at the beautiful interface for SolidWorks Connected, which is
a wonderful collaboration suite.
Wonderful collaboration suite, which is only one major design iteration away from being useful.
Major.
Yeah. Deep question, right? Song wheel default, part default. Why do we have? Anyway,
so many questions. Yeah.
Yeah. So the file system thing needs.
I remember there was an idea of using tags for these files, and I don't know, like, is there a way to look at the tags? Because obviously you can't have folders. Folders are old-fashioned.
Right.
But I presume you could sort by tags.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was trying to figure out, but I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, I don't see the way that you would. Oh, looks like I have to.
Do you guys see my screen, by the way?
I haven't. I'm just getting back there now. Here we go. Yes, let me get you Discord plus 4. Here we go.
Now, the worst part is, like, you have the option of making the layout be, like, slightly smaller rectangles or gigantic squares. And there's no, like, detail list layout.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't actually follow because I was futzing around with getting my screen up when you were talking about that. What do you mean by giant rectangles?
Oh, I'm talking about the 3D space view. 3D collaborative space. You can either see
in the
the names as rectangles or as in the top right that you can choose the layout.
Yeah. All right, we got your screen up, David. So I think we're good to go.
Okay. Okay. So right now we're in the MB2 assembly.
Music box
and
2. Because we have a radical file naming structure.
Well, yeah, I just made it up. I mean, I used to call things that I was working on fake something or other, just so I know it wasn't like the thing that should be in production or whatnot. So, okay. So right now I was editing a component, so I'm going to end that. And I like dark mode. I don't know about you guys, but I can change that if that doesn't work.
I actually just trimmed out all the other things on the screen for the YouTube thing because I was thinking that you were showing more than just your window. I didn't realize that you were in dark mode, so now I have to go back and unedit out most of your screen.
Yeah, we need to see that. So this stuff seems.
But hey, you don't actually have your environment set to dark, so it's not full dark. Like mine.
No,
you're like wimpy dark.
Yeah. Well, I actually do like a little misty blue slate, but it just looks weird. Sometimes with this construction lines, they disappear.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'll show you my setup. It's a bit different. Soon, trademark.
Okay. And actually, I quite liked the dusty antique that you had done with your assembly. I think it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I like that too, but I think when
they don't have Rocky Island Cave background like Martin's workshop.
Right. Or we could just do like rooftop, and pretend this one's good too. But sometimes it's fun to pretend like we're in a factory,
Yep.
There you go, yeah. Yes, that one's called Sketchy Backlot. That one's like lock your car.
So okay, just let me know whenever you're ready.
Any picture on this? Because that would be interesting. We should get Martin to take a picture of his studio, and then we could have that.
That would be
custom
funny.
MMX environment. I mean, he's got enough angles of his thing, of his house from. You could probably do it just from our reference geometry library.
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't you need a super special camera to do that?
Maybe
360 camera. I mean, you take enough images from a normal camera, you could stitch it together.
Yeah, photogrammetry, man.
That sounds like an excellent use of time.
Yep.
Oh, you mean like the MMX CAD project?
Yeah.
Okay,
right,
so
walk us through what you did, David.
Okay, so I started at the assembly by starting with a layout, and you find that by right-clicking on the name of the assembly. At this point, it would have only had the planes and nothing else. And I click layout, and layout is it's a 3D sketch fundamentally, but it starts on the front plane. So that's probably the plane you should get used to using as your go-to plane. Frankly, that's what I do generally.
So for the MMX, that would be our left plane, right? If our skeleton is looking at the axes of all the different shafts, right?
I think it would be the top plane. I think in the MMX because it's XY, and XY is like the ground essentially.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, because Z isn't the top on this.
Yeah, so this is early on when we first started working with SolidWorks. I was telling Tim about it's maybe a good idea to settle early on, with what planes you consider to be what? Do we want Z to be up? Do we want Z to be towards the front? And, at first I thought, well, maybe we should just make it like Fusion is now to get people used to it. But honestly, it would be more of a pain in the ass because then you'd have to have special templates and everything. And I think it's more work than it needs to be. I think we should just go with the SolidWorks native system and just not mess with a good thing.
I want to be able to hit the isometric view button and have it go to like the standard view with the floor down.
Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, don't get me wrong, you can set that to be anything you want. But the thing is, do you want 25 people to do that,
No.
right? Like individually, and that's how they'd have to do it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So again, it opens up a 3D sketch, but normal to the front plane. So this is where, and let me turn off the components so that you can see it better. But what you're seeing on the screen is actually not in that sketch. All these things are blocks that I added to the sketch. And the only thing on this sketch are dimensions that orient those blocks to the origin. So they're also, if you notice, they're all parameterized. So nothing in there is native to this sketch. It all goes back to the equations over here.
But now these blocks are blocks that you sketch them in this layout sketch and then convert them into blocks, correct?
Exactly. You can really bring them in from anywhere, but with SolidWorks Connected being, completely in the cloud, and this thing being, it's kind of a new animal. You can just create them here too, and they just live here.
Yeah.
So one thing to keep in mind, and I don't want to confuse anybody, but you can also create planes in this 3D sketch that live only in this 3D sketch. They won't appear in the feature tree. They're not available for anyone else to use in any parts or components later on. They're just used specifically to create and orient blocks. So that's something you can use if you want to. And there are cases where you will actually want to put one of these blocks on a plane that isn't the origin planes. And I actually considered doing that. I probably could do that here if you want to show you.
Like I'm thinking, like for the MMX, like the xylophone, right, is angled and angled away, right? There's a compound angle on the vibraphone, right? So I could see there being a weird angle plane defined and having a sketch on that for where the vibraphone are.
Yeah, that is an absolutely perfect example of why you'd want to do that. Okay. So that's good.
So then, let's say if you're going down the stream, right, and you are then modeling the vibraphone, right? You said that those planes aren't accessible to the rest of the model, right? But I guess you'd have a block on that plane, so you'd still be able to see the block geometry. Is that how that would work? Yeah, so the blocks become your source geometry, not that plane. So because the blocks are on that plane, you can make a plane in your part that is coincident to the points on the block. So then that plane lives with the part, but it goes back to the the absolute starting geometry in this layout sketch. So anyway, the first one I laid out was the box. And if you notice in the feature tree, I have enabled so that you can see where this entity finds its geometry. In this case, it is in the layout. So if you don't have yours made like that, you can go to View, Hide Show, and then it's in here. Where is it? Parent-child or dependencies.
Where is it on here? I thought it was on here. I know I showed it to you earlier. Is it Unity?
Yeah, and I turned it on. It's still on for me because you showed it to me the last time.
Is it display? Maybe it's under display.
So the layout, it doesn't actually exist in the feature tree.
No, it doesn't. It's right here.
It's right assembled. Yeah, it's right coupled to the assembly file.
Yeah, and the layout used to be a tab on the general assembly, like you could get into it from the top ribbon bar, and you can't
from old ones.
Well, it is. It's right here. This is a tab.
Oh, did you have to add that button in because it didn't show up for me?
I might have. I don't know, but you do it here. Okay. So, all right. So we're in the layout sketch, and now we want to work on a block. So this is where you do that. You can also actually do it up here, right? So you can select the block and then edit it, right? I think it's probably easier to just right-click it, but it's up to you. So you edit the block, and now the interesting thing about blocks is that they're never fully defined. You can't define them because they have no relationship to the origin. So they're always going to be blue, and you just kind of got to live with that.
And you can like move them too. Like you just drag the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I mean,
Yep.
do we
But I
want that
mean-
though? Don't we want it to be more locked down?
Yeah, I don't understand.
Well, I mean,
You do that in
relatively.
the layout sketch.
Yeah, exactly. The position is going to be determined then.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So you're
So
saying
what-
when you're editing the block, it's always going to be blue.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just
Ah.
get used to the fact that you aren't going to be defining blocks. That's just not a thing. So if you just finish the block by just clicking edit block again, and you see it just went right back to where it was supposed to be, because in this sketch under layout, it's defined by the layout sketch. Okay, so if you want, we can make a new block here. Do you have any parts like electronics components you want to place?
Well, let's put in a block that defines the center of the motor and the two rollers. I know you have a block that shows the points of the two rollers. Let's make a block that shows where the motor is and maybe the outline or the bolt holes for like the plate, right? That kind of defines the plate of the paper pulling mechanism.
Okay, so you probably don't want the bolt holes here. I can think of cases where you might, but I think
If they line up on multiple parts, perhaps.
yeah. But what you really want is the location that defines the thing itself, not details within the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So that's why for the puller wheels, I literally just put a line with 2 points at the end that the midpoint is coincident with the origin, and that's
Right.
all I did. And so, but I did make the line when I made the block. I made the line the diameter of the puller wheels. I'm assuming they're identical.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let me clarify. So the idea that I had was, and the reason why I said the bolt holes is that when I designed the paper pulling mechanism the first time, I had to change where the bolt holes were because of the width of the vibration mounts, and I wanted to make sure that there was clearance between the outline of the motor and where the sandwich mounts are. So does that mean that you model where the sandwich mounts go?
So you can model it and find out if you have clearance, and then go back to the layout sketch, and then include the geometry that fits that. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
but it's not a problem to try and then find out what the numbers are, and then you put that in your layout sketch instead of making your layout sketch have 10,000 things in it.
Right. Okay.
So okay, next, okay, you said we wanted to put the motor in, all right? So okay,
Yeah.
So we're in the sketch, and I'm just trying to think here what format we could use for that. So are the bolt holes a square, and the
Yes.
center is the...
Yes.
Okay, so we might as well just use a center rectangle then.
Yep.
Because then we can actually do the bolt holes.
Yep.
So we're
So
making a block, but
you've hit edit layout, right? So you're in the layout and you're editing it. You're not just show layout. You're editing it, and you're just drawing in that sketch on the front plane. Correct? Yeah.
So what I'm about to do is create a block, right? But from this, so I actually don't care how big it is or where I put it, as long as I put it on this plane. So the first thing I did actually was make it normal. So by pressing the space bar, you bring up the view cube. And then if you see on the left, the orientation shows up. And then you just select which one you want. In this case, it's front. So
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so space bar does that, just FYI.
Yeah. Okay. Good
Yeah,
try.
it's super useful.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to make a square. I don't care how big it is or where I put it. Okay. And escape. So now I've got the geometry of my block. I don't care how big it is. I don't care where it is. I do prefer everything to be construction, so I know it's a block. Like there's really very little reason to make a block anything but construction. You can if you want to make it regular geometry, but
Okay.
Actually, in SolidWorks Connected, they have discontinued creating components from blocks or creating parts from blocks. That used to be a thing where you can take this layout sketch and you can take all these blocks and actually like have a command to turn that into a part. That's gone, unfortunately. So there's nothing we can do about that. But anyway, we're going to take all of these parts and turn them into a block. So select them all. And then you'll notice in this little menu, there's this guy. It says make block. We can also do it over here. And in fact, that little thing disappeared as soon as I moved, so it's gone. But anytime that you do stuff like this, whether you're selecting geometry for relationships or whatever, that little menu shows up. Anyway, we're going to make a block. And block entities shows up. I could actually make the block first and then select the entities. I think it's easier to just select with my mouse first. But this
I think I figured out something. So if you open up this block and you take the insertion point and then you fix it, then you can make it not blue.
Okay.
And I think that at least makes it so you can't just accidentally drag it around. I don't know if that makes sense.
Is that gonna cause trouble for positioning it later on?
I don't know, because you just move the. If I'm understanding this correctly, correct me if I'm wrong. If when you do your layout sketch, you're choosing the insertion point for these blocks, and then when you make a block, it has its insertion point, and then you do it, right? So that's still fine. It's just that when you create the block, then you draw a square in the block. It's not fixed, but if you fix the insertion point, it's the same as having an origin, I think. I don't really know.
Yeah, so I'm about to add the insertion point, actually.
Yeah, do it.
So I select insertion point. Now, to be honest with you, I don't know what layout sketch block does. It doesn't seem to do anything useful for me. So I just don't do any. All I do is click insertion point, and then this shows up, but I don't pay attention to what that is. And you notice this origin showed up. Now, I don't really find any of these corners useful, so I'll just take it and move it, and it'll snap just like that. So now it's snapped to the center of the square, and I'm not done making the block, but it's okay because I haven't actually, dimensioned it or anything. But remember, we actually haven't even made the block yet. It isn't yet a block. It's still in the selection phase. So we will press the check, or I can go up here in the top right corner and check there. Okay, so now it's a block. And if you notice, it's gray. We're still in our layout sketch, and now we have a new block. I'm going to rename it now. Doesn't really matter when you do it, but just select rename tree item. Let's just call it. Say what?
You don't get prompted to set the name when you create it?
No, you might be able to at some point. There might be a setting for that. I don't know, but anyway, we're going to call it
block 3, block 4. It
okay. Let's call it motor mount.
Great
for
name.
Fun. You can call it something else. Thank you. That's going to be the name of my first child, I think.
Motor mount?
Okay. Why not?
I'm gonna tag along to that trend.
I can think of some reasons why not.
But my last cat's name was Musical Instrument Digital Interface.
Nice.
I called her MIDI for short.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Cool.
Good. I like that. It's a good cat name.
So, Andre, you'd be opposed to my child being named Axial Bearing?
It's better than thrust bearing. Especially if it's a
Slightly.
Okay, so we created the block. I actually I did a rebuild. Probably didn't need to do that. It was prompting me to, so I did. But anyway, that closed the sketch like it would always. But now I can actually go back into my layout, even from there. And we don't want to edit the. I'm sorry, take that back. We need to edit the block now because remember, it doesn't have any defined geometry. So now here's our block. And all I need to do now is give it dimensions. And what is that?
For clarity, you clicked on edit the block because now we have the blocks in the feature tree at the bottom, right?
Yep.
You didn't go back into the layout and select it. You just selected the named block, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. Proceed.
You could also do it up here, because this layout tab has all of the stuff you're going to need for that.
So now in this view, you can click on the insertion point and then just do a fixed constraint.
Try it.
No. Do you even see the insertion point on this?
No.
You should be able to. I think you made it coincident with another point in the middle of that box, right? But
yeah, so if you notice...
at least I can see on my screen.
Okay.
In a different block. I'm obviously not looking at the same model that you are because you haven't...
Well, it's this point here that I'm dragging around.
I guess the question is, could you just fix that center point, and would we then deal with a non-blue sketch?
Yeah, that's what I'm suggesting.
Like that? Well, I haven't actually dimensioned it. What is the dimensions?
So the motor outside for a NEMA 17 motor is 42.3.
From the hole to the hole?
No, from outside of the motor. It's 31 millimeters from the hole to hole, but I thought we weren't going to do the holes.
Well, so that's actually a perfect, like, I would say that the relationship from the holes, or sorry, the bolt hole circle to the shaft is actually that's the whole reason that I made it a
yeah, okay, so then do 31 millimeters.
Yeah.
Is it weird I know those dimensions by heart?
If you're designing a 3D printer, yes. It's not weird at all.
Well, then it wouldn't be weird, I guess.
Yeah. Sorry.
So it's defined. I just question the need to define it this way, because you don't actually want your location.
Well, that's the other question, right? Because can you now drag it around when you're outside the block? Does it care?
Well, let's find out.
Oh wait, because it's using the assembly's origin point.
Right. Yes. So this is just a dumb block. It's not. It's like I actually don't want to define it while it's a block. I want to define it inside of the
when it's apart and being mated.
But each block, when it's in the assembly, there's a separate parameter outside of the block saying where is this block located, right? So the fact that you have fully constrained the block within its own context shouldn't. Once you exit that block, you should be able to move it around in the assembly, I would guess.
Yeah, and you do that by moving the insertion point, right? From the layout sketch, because in the layout sketch, when you define the insertion point, then you can just change that, and it will move the whole block. It should.
Okay. So let me get out of editing the block. Okay. Well, you can move it. Interesting.
SolidWorks.
Well, so I like that from a standards context, because then we could be like, okay, like all of our blocks, like and Eric and Andre, you have more experience, like looking at other people's work than I do. I do like the idea of like, having a standard, like you don't leave blue lines.
Oh, I agree. It's just, this is like the one exception to that rule. I'm trying to figure out why you would need to define this. I guess you could. Let's see what happens when we go back to editing the block again. Interesting. So you see how it hasn't actually moved. Like I can't move it here. It's fixed, but it's only fixed while I'm editing it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, so that's what we want, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do it that way, we can do it that way. I guess that's really your call, Tim.
Yeah. Well, so it just means that we need to fix one point in the design, in the block, and then just for the sake of being like, hey, you don't leave lines blue. That's a clear, easy, basic standard to have. That anyway.
Sure.
It just means fixing one point.
The only thing that, there's a caveat to that. Think about it right now. It is fully defined. But where is it in space right now? It isn't anywhere I need it to be.
Right.
So what's the point? Except for to change it to black.
Yeah. Hey, if it's worth killing, it's worth overkilling. That's my motto.
Yeah.
Because isn't it defined in the layout sketch? The layout sketch has the the what do you call it? The insertion point defined. So then if you fix that, it shouldn't be movable, right? I don't really understand why it would be moving.
Well, no. So once it's because that anchor point, the fix position, it relates solely, and I mean really, to nothing else other than itself. So if you notice, there's no origin in this sketch right now. We're editing a block, but this block is not like in relation to anything. It doesn't like there. It's not related to the front plane. It's not related to the top plane. It's not related to the origin. It just exists in its own world.
Yeah.
And putting that anchor on it just says, don't move while you're editing me, this thing that is actually a entity that is not really a sketch. It's just made like a sketch.
Yeah. So you're saying that while we can, the standard of making it fully defined and having the lines go black is quasi-masturbatory, basically.
If I knew what a masturbatory was, I would definitely agree with you.
It's an ancient elephant that had a lot of hairs, and died after the Ice Age. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'll go with that. But so anyway, I think that I like the idea of fully defining everything. I am on that page, believe me.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think in the case of blocks, it's just unnecessary for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the dimensional relations are undefined. It's just a position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So now show us, David, how you set the location of this block that you've made, which is our motor mounting position, right, relative to the other sketch.
Okay. So first we got to leave the block. I'm actually, for now, I'm going to delete that. We can come back to that, but normally I would not expect this to be fully defined. Okay, so in order to leave this block from editing it, we just click Edit Block again.
Yep.
We could also save the block for later, actually, if we wanted to. Like, you can have a library of blocks.
Yep.
And actually, this is how you make extrusions too. If you wanted to make a custom extrusion, you can do it that way.
I've been tinkering with that. I couldn't get it to work.
Okay.
We're gonna have to have some chat.
Yeah.
Later on.
Okay. So now it's in my layout sketch. I'm in the layout sketch as we speak. So I generally like to go to the origin. Because I think that's the right place, generally speaking, to orient these blocks from, unless you have a specific relationship to something else. Right. So, for example, we've made the rollers 200 centimeters, 200 millimeters away from the origin. So maybe we just make this vertical to that.
Yep.
Right. That way we're not reaching back and adding a bunch of extra stuff for no reason. And I don't know why it closed my...
Yeah, the critical parameter on this is going to be driven by the length of a belt that we can source. Right. And so it'll be the distance between the center of the motor and the center of the lower roller.
Okay, so you want to talk belts now, huh?
Well, I mean, that's going to be a variable, right? That's one of those things where, like, as we're designing it, if we change manufacturer or change the size of one of the timing pulleys, right, then it's going to change the distance between the motor and the lower roller, which we have those mounted on slots in the other version. So so the default position we're going to want to I'm just saying the distance between that lower roller and the center of the motor is a prime design parameter.
Sure. Right. No, I know. I get that. And actually, the reason I bring it up, I said it in a coy way. I'm sorry, it sounded funny, but this is where we actually do that. This is where you lay out belts and chains.
Right.
So that's going to be up here. You'll see that there should be a assembly feature. Wait, what? Where'd it go? Where did they put it?
You're lying to us again.
Yeah, I gotta find where they put that. Gosh darn it. Man, SolidWorks Connected is just weird.
I know, it just, wow.
Okay. Under belt and chain. I probably have to close the layout first.
Isn't it such a nice ball of spaghetti?
Yeah. Okay, well, before we do that, let me make a relation to the of the center here. We'll make it, just for fun, coincident to this guy. And we will, I want to do the belt first, but honestly, let's instead just make it a certain distance. We'll do that later. We'll figure out what that is. Come on, what are we doing here? Oh, okay. I'm learning as we go. Maybe there's a reason why I'm going to the origin. Because it looks like you can't relate things to each other, which doesn't make any sense. I don't remember that being a thing.
You can't relate the origin, a point on one block to another piece of block geometry.
Well, here's the endpoint of that. Here's that guy.
Mm-hmm.
3D on-plane dimensions must have at least one item on the active plane. I never really decoded what that meant because honestly, they're all on the active plane.
Maybe they secretly aren't.
Yeah. But I do know that I can relate it to the origin. What is it doing here? Hold on a second.
Now let's step. Well, while you do
what
that,
are we doing?
well, while you're doing that, so I just realized there's something that we haven't covered in this stream, but you and I talked about earlier, David, which is that you're doing this thing with blocks in order to be able to simplify the overall. Oh yeah, look at that. Something's not constrained.
Yeah, I did not constrain this vertically.
Gasp. Oh no.
Okay. Sorry. Don't mean to
actually,
wreck your thought.
Now that we're praising SolidWorks, can I just show the brain and another brain aneurysm I had with Fusion today?
Sure.
Yeah, I'll post it as an image in CAD team chat.
I don't know that I don't know that I can share that with our audience.
No, you don't have to really. It's just.
Oh no, something. I can.
Okay, sure. Let me just post it in there. First thing. So I tried doing a symmetric constraint. I do that all the time.
Okay. Yeah, today, I like symmetry.
It didn't work. It didn't work today. Yes, and so that is. Oh, where did I put that? That was a couple of days ago. Where I put. Come on. Yes. This is the sequel to the one I posted a couple of days ago, which was this, which to the uninitiated, that is a perpendicular constraint.
Hey, you sure that's
very nice?
You're sure that's not a 3D sketch?
No. I swear to God, it's a 2D sketch. And Fusion claims it's fully constrained. I can give you the Fusion file if you want.
Wow.
That is great. I love it.
Awesome.
One of my specialties is finding where things go wrong and don't do what they're supposed to do. And it looks like that's a real corker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Congrats.
Yeah. All right. What was I going to ask before that? So the reason for doing blocks rather than a big sketch, right? Is because you can break things down, right? So that each individual block is more self-contained and independent, right?
Yeah, so exactly. You're just really building a relationship between predefined things. Like, for example, ideally, and I haven't figured this out yet with SolidWorks Connected, but ideally you would have a library of blocks, and those blocks would be the geometry for like commonly used like items of whatever kind, and then you would build a layout sketch with those blocks in the correct orientation, and then build your assembly from there.
Right. Okay. All right. So groovy. So we have the motor mount there. Were you able to constrain the distance between the two shafts?
Well, I did that by the block itself is just aligned with the diameter of but
only in the x axis, right? In the y, it's still unconstrained, correct?
Well, it is a 3D sketch, but it's all on a plane.
Right, but you haven't. There's no dimension there for the distance right now, right?
There is in the block.
Oh, you did it in the block.
Yeah, because the block is the thing that contains that. The layout is what determines where it is.
Right. Yeah, I'm just saying. So, like, you have dimensions in this current view, right, which are kind of giving you relative to the origin where different blocks are that you've made, right? I don't see those dimensions for the one you just inserted. So, what's the difference? I'm trying to understand that.
Because it's not constrained. It's still out there.
Okay, so that's what I was asking. Is that
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I just constrained the.
So are you saying that you're not able to add that constraint, that vertical constraint, in the layout because it's not going to the origin?
Well, I did. You mean of the polar wheels?
Yeah.
What? I mean, I did that though. I don't know why it wanted me to add the block. So I did add the vertical constraint. I forgot to before.
Okay.
That's all.
So why am I not? So the question is, why am I not seeing a dimension on this screen?
Because I haven't entered it yet. If you can remember, I said that's why we want belts. Yeah. Because you can tell SolidWorks what size belt you're going to use and what size wheels you're going to use, and it places those where they are. It's one of the reasons you don't want to define where it is, because that belt and chain function defines where they are.
Yeah. So do you do that in this layout?
Ideally, yes.
All right, let's try it. If that would be the next step for locating where the motor goes, right?
Yeah. So I'm actually going to close this first and investigate, because the thing is, like, I expected to be able to do it inside. So just give me a second here. Oh wow, my computer is.
I'm finally here at this. Things have to be on the active plane. Let's try to figure out how to make the block. I think it's not there. Interesting.
Where were we? It was going to be. Trying to remember where they were. Because normally belt and chain is in the assembly tab, but I didn't see it.
So if we were counting, by the way, I've had to move my logo once. And now I'm back to editing my OBS Ninja boxes. So I've hit both of those milestones, which is good.
Okay. See, Sketch Entity is here. Let's go back and maybe try to do it from here. So I will do the layout, tools, Sketch Entities. Okay. I'm not sure why it's not available to me right now.
Okay.
It's kind of bizarre. I wonder. Huh.
Is it not available in layout? Because sometimes I remember that there were some features that you couldn't do in a layout. Like I think you can't do a circular pattern in a layout, or there's something like that. There were some things I remember when using layout sketches before. I was like, that's weird that you can't. I was kind of pissed that you couldn't do a certain sketch feature when you were doing layout. Maybe belts is the same way.
Yeah, it could be. It's frustrating because that's actually exactly why you'd want to have a belt and chain here, because that's where it places that. So, Well, can we table that for now and come back to it?
Yeah. Good idea.
Okay. Let me.
We got to keep both the people watching this stream happy.
Yeah.
Are there people watching the stream?
There are.
Just curious. 5 people apparently are crazy enough to watch the stream, but that might just be all of us.
Yeah.
Well, there's only 4 of
okay.
us, so we have at least. And Tom Nelson's definitely here. So
yes, Tom is here.
Yes.
Shout out to Tom.
Yeah.
He was a bit concerned that we're in CAD team meeting room and not in our private one.
Oh. Well, hasn't
But,
had
who
any
cares?
negative effects on us yet.
Okay, so I guess I'm not doing it from the origin itself. I'm doing it from planes. So that was the confusion. So anyway, what was the number? You remember? From shaft to the...
Oh, we'd have to look it up.
roll?
We'd actually have to spec a belt, but let's just do it 250 millimeters.
The distance?
Yeah.
Well, the center
Okay.
to center distance is never going to be a clean number. It's actually going to be irrational because...
Well,
that's
exactly.
really high.
Right.
But that's just like 10 inches, man. That's a lot.
Oh, is it?
That's why...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
was thinking more like
is
75.
this David Lewis using inches?
Well, no, he's translating to the stupid guy who can't. Yeah. So.
Okay, so in my defense, I use inches when I want to be absurd about something. Like, that's 10 miles away. You know, like,
okay.
nobody cares how many miles and acres or whatever the hell it is. It's just like, it's just an exaggeration when I say it, when I use inches.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, so like if you just see me using it, it's usually a very good sign that I'm either making fun of it or I am
skeptic.
Yeah, or just being absurd.
Yeah, so
like
we did it with a path length constraint.
Okay.
In the other one, and I have that's 129 millimeter is the path length dimension. But then you also have constraints for how big the different wheels are, etc.
Okay.
Yeah, well, the way I don't know if you guys can see.
I'll just make it.
It's on YouTube, but this is
I'm watching
the old
David's stream.
Yeah, so I'm showing everybody else. This is our old skeleton geometry, and if you look at that, that is way different than what David has, which is a lot cleaner. Yeah, from that, and that's a close up on the. I just have way more. I have way more detail in my skeleton than this. So okay, that's good. Let's keep rolling.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's just because we haven't drawn all the other stuff in the layout yet.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so just for the sake of argument, I might as well add this how I would prefer to see it added, which is by turning it into a global variable, because you don't want to have dimensions. I mean, with some exceptions, you don't really want dimensions that live only within your sketch.
Yeah, because then you have to go in there.
Unless they... I mean, there are reasons to want that, but generally speaking, if you can control it from outside the sketch, it's probably better. And in this case, we're going to create a global variable while we're here. So you go equal, and then quotation, and then call it whatever you want. We're just going to call it motor. Well, actually, we'll call it belt placeholder distance, just for the sake, and then close quote. And it's going to ask you if you want to make it a global variable. Yes. I could do that by clicking the globe, or if I press enter, it'll literally ask me if I want to do it like that. Press yes. Boom. And now you'll see the little globe next to it and then a number. And when I press the check mark, you'll see they'll show a sigma next to it.
That's awesome.
Boom. And now that thing doesn't live here anymore. It lives over here. So if you go under equations, it should say belt placeholder distance 75. So now when you want to edit that, you can. So if we close this, which we do from here, I think I double clicked it by accident. Okay, no, I didn't. Okay, so now let's just say, for example, I want this number to be different. I don't like 75. So we just go in our equations, manage equations. And if you want to see it happen in real time, you click automatically rebuild. If you don't, then you don't. But scroll down to belt placeholder distance. Let's make it something that like we can actually see it move. Let's call it 150, double that. Change it here, tab, and now it should move while we're in here. And it didn't. Wow. Okay. It's supposed to automatically people. Okay. I'm going to press enter and see what happens. Press OK, and boom, there it is. It's down there now.
Nice. Okay.
So it would be really cool if I could do it here. I don't know why they don't let you do it here. It makes a whole ton of sense to do that. But anyway.
You mean to edit it in the feature tree on the left side?
Yeah, I don't know why they don't let you do that. It's kind of silly. So press enter and okay, and it should bring it back to where it was. If my computer doesn't crash, there it is. Okay, so now that motor mount is 75 millimeters away from the paper path.
Yeah,
got it.
So we can define that differently. I mean, that's just how I did it as an example. But we can make it an equation. We can make it. We can figure out, what the equation is of how to build a belt. With cord length and all that other crap.
Oh,
but
I actually figured that out once.
Great.
I think I told you. It wasn't tidy at all.
No, it isn't. And by the way, belt length is the feature that Fusion is glaringly missing.
Yes.
And it wouldn't be a problem if you could do those other ways. But the problem is, in Fusion, there is no such thing as an arc length feature. You can't do that either. So it doesn't matter what your equation comes up with. You can't tell the line to be that long, or you can't tell the arc to be that long. It's really frustrating. But anyway, again, I'm learning SolidWorks Connected kind of along with you guys too. It's not. It's I have until like a month ago or whenever it was we got it up. I had never used it before. And by the way, only really Tim knows this, I guess, but it crashes on me about 75% of the time. So I spent 2 hours with tech support today, and they gave me a nice little surprise.
Question: Is that 75% off the normal SolidWorks crashing time?
It is that in addition to.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
But in order to solve your problem, David, they did.
Say again.
What is
you were leading up to your
tech support? And
yes, they gave up and said we have no idea what the problem is, so they're going to give me a full license of regular desktop SolidWorks.
Whoa.
Yay!
Yeah. So
madman.
Yeah. So the thing is, SolidWorks Connected is just one flavor of using the 3D Experience platform. It's just sort of tied to it, right? Where SolidWorks, whatever other flavor of it, you have to install a connector, which is like just some kind of software device that makes you have to save stuff on the platform, but is otherwise just plain regular SolidWorks. And that they said, listen, we have no idea what the problem is. We can't even replicate it. All I see is your computer crashing, and then it works, and then it's crashing, and then it works, and then it crashes, and then it crashes. And they're like, yeah, I have no idea. So let's just she instant messaged with Sean, the guy that's managing this, or somehow is connected some way. And he's like, yeah, just give him regular SolidWorks. He's good. So I'm pretty psyched about that. So, okay. So we've made this. We've made the skeleton in the layout sketch. We've made some blocks. And I guess we can start talking about components, right?
Yep. Yeah. Let's make a component, and then let's also show. Let's make sure that we can, try to break it by changing the parameters. Let's make a couple, right? Maybe that some have a kind of dependency on each other, and let's see if we can break it.
You want to tear this down? All right.
Yep.
Okay. First, let me save this though, because actually we did.
How did you solve this thing where it says you can't you need to have points on the active plane? Did you get a solution to that? 3D on plane dimensions must have at least one item on the active plane. No. Okay.
I have not solved that. It is still an open question what that means.
Interesting. Because I I'm a little bit behind here, but I made a block, but I only did one dimension from the origin. Now I want to add the second one, but like that seems to be impossible. So I don't know. So I mean, what I can do, I guess this is the way that you did it, is that you drew the sketch and you dimensioned it from the origin, and then you turned it into a block, right? Is that the way that you did it? Because I did only one. I didn't fully dimension the sketch before turning it into a block, and now it seems like I can't dimension that. You know what I'm talking about? The other dimension on here.
No, I'm sorry. I don't follow. No.
Okay. Well, if I figure it out, I'll let you know.
Okay. That'll be content for next week.
Say again.
Well, let's try to let's go ahead and try to make a component. If we can figure that out in the next week, we can talk about that next week. Yeah.
I love it. Why don't we make the visual wheel? I haven't done that yet.
Okay. Well, why don't you make the paper pulling rollers?
Oh, yeah, I could do that. Well, I already did. I started that already.
A single feature.
So actually, I added a sub-assembly that has one component in it, puller roller 1. But I already did that. I don't know if you want me to do that again.
David, we can get automatic BOMs from this, right?
That is not something I know yet.
It feels like SolidWorks should have that.
Yeah, no, you can. I mean, like the way that I do cut lists for weldments, and it just knows, it puts your weldment, it knows hey, this part and that part are the same length, so it does quantity 4 of those. It's awesome like that.
Yeah.
All right, so you've already made some parts, David. Is that what you're saying? So you want to make?
Yeah. So
why don't you show the ones you've already made, and let's just advance the model you've already made.
Okay. So I started just because I don't know. It suited my fancy, so to speak. I started on the song wheel. That's just what I called it. I don't remember what you called it, but I just came up with a name.
Yep.
And so I did that by just like regular, just insert component, new part. I did that. And when you do that, there's a green check mark that shows up next to the cursor. Ah, shit, my mouse is dying. How is that even possible? That's actually a real problem if this thing actually, because that would suck. Just a second, let me plug it in. Shit.
One of my best friends is the guy that has all of the equipment problems. It's no matter what we did, playing paintball, going scuba diving, just whatever, he always had equipment problems. And it wasn't he just noticed them and was fixated on them. I think he actually had more equipment problems than most people.
We have this guy, still have at our makerspace, who will just walk up to something and it's not his fault, but whatever he picks up, it will be broken.
Okay.
At some point, you gotta ask that question.
No, I genuinely believe he has no malicious intent. He could just be clumsy.
So he walks up to it and it already is broken, or he's using it and it breaks while he happens to be holding it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, this mouse, supposedly, what do they advertise for the MX Master? 3 months or something, or whatever it is. The battery dies all the time, all the time. I've charged it 100 times since I got it.
I've never charged mine, and I've had it for almost that time.
Well, some people work.
Maybe if you have a difficult wireless environment, like a lot of interference, maybe then it has to boost the power of the radio. I'm just totally making that up.
Hey, but it's a valid engineering BS answer.
Yeah.
Okay, more valid engineering BS ahead too. This is my song wheel, and so so I'm charging my mouse. So I guess we're good. But okay, so when you first add the component, add the part, you're gonna get a little green check mark. Generally speaking, I don't actually know what the difference is between clicking that check mark and pressing escape. They don't seem to do anything different. I used to think that maybe it fixed the component as opposed to floating it, and I think that's probably what it does. So just FYI, in the meantime. So I can actually choose to edit this outside of the assembly, which I kind of recommend. And one of the reasons is that, well, clutter, first of all. But second, we already have our like defining position geometry. So we don't really need the assembly in order to make the part anymore, unless there are certain things we need from it. Like, for example,
diameter?
Exactly. And so in this case, we need this circle here. And so that's actually why I added it and then later on opened it. But the thing is, I can roll back a part. I can't roll back an assembly. So that's kind of annoying. But pretend we just added it. So I will edit the component. That's important. Boom, edit component. So now we are in, I actually changed the color, by the way. If you guys like dark mode, this shows up this ridiculous, like, neon blue that just, I mean, it's not fun for the eyes, and I couldn't read it myself. So I changed it to like this color blue, and I can actually read it now. But anyway, there are a few bodies because I haven't actually finished it yet. This is really just a proof of concept at this point, but I will roll this back to our first sketch. So I sketched on the front plane of the part, not of the assembly, FYI. And this is my sketch. So the only thing I actually sketched is what's inside of this pie piece right here. And then I patterned it.
Mm-hmm.
So everything on this is parameterized, including the number of instances. So all I did was do a convert entities on the circle from the layout sketch. And then after I did that, I turned off the layout sketch because actually it can be kind of confusing. And you do that by pressing hide layout. That way you don't accidentally make any relations to things you don't want to make relations to.
Right.
Okay.
Can
you
you access,
now,
when you're in this sketch, can you access all of the global variables that you set up in the layout?
Yes. And that's what I'm about to show you.
Okay.
So if you notice, everything in this sketch is parameterized. There's nothing that isn't.
Yep.
And none of those, if you look, this thing doesn't even have equations. There's no equations here. But if you notice, the equations has a little arrow. And when you follow it, it goes all the way back up to MB2.
Yep.
So all of those belong in the assembly. And it's not really, like, I'm not going to say it's not common knowledge. It's not, what's the word I'm thinking of here? It isn't maybe intuitive to know how to add it, but I'll show you how to do it now. So the first thing to figure out really is what your parameters are. And in this case, they're going to be right here. I chose 6 spokes, but we can change that. We can make it whenever we want.
Do 5.
We can change it to 5. That's easy. Song wheel hub diameter, I decided to make it 100. So in that case, that's this circle. That can change to whatever. Song wheel hub hole diameter, I decided that's 50. That can be whatever. Song wheel rim width, that's this here. Decided 25, can make it whatever. Fillet radius, now you might say, well, maybe we should fill it later. In this case, it's being patterned. And honestly, it's more trouble than it's worth to try to do it later than to do it now. So this is a case where you want to pattern it as a fillet already. So, and the wheel width, which is going to come later on when we do the extrude. So, okay. In this case, I mean, without deleting everything and making it all over again, it would be difficult to show you how to do this, but I guess if I double click, I'll give you an idea of how this works. So one thing to note, I don't know if you guys have patterned in SolidWorks before, but I'm guessing probably most of you have. And
yes,
a lot of the cases when you add dimensions, it's a two-step process. So for example, if you notice, the pattern instances has a sigma next to it. It is from our equations, right?
Right.
But if you try to do that in the sketch, or like by using the patterning, like let's say I go to oh, you can't do it because it's not a thing. Oh wait, yes I can. Right? Can I? Can I edit that? No, I can't.
Probably not while the sketch is open.
Yeah, no. Once you create it, it's actually can't. All you can change is the dimension from it. But okay, so you can't add this global variable while you're creating it. You have to create it first and then add it. So if you know your number is 6, just type in 6, and then look on the screen and find where the 6 is, because you might not realize it is actually in there somewhere.
Yep.
You double click it, and it'll bring up this guy. And if you notice,
there you can do it.
Yes, this is where you do it. This is how you add global variables from an assembly. Unfortunately, with global variables, if you don't select it over here somewhere, whether it's in your part or in the assembly, you have to type it. It can be kind of annoying because sometimes the list shows up. It depends on the context. In this case, if it's already created, the list might not show up. So you might have to retype it. And honestly, who wants to do that, right? Especially when you have to do @ and then the name of your assembly and then .assembly. That's silly. So let's just say we're going to add it now, right? So we'll get rid of this. So now 6 is, let's just pretend we started over. It's like, okay, see my number is 6 now?
Mm-hmm.
So that's not parameterized. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just, I decided it's 6, so it's 6. Well, if I were to double click that, bring this up, press equal, and it's important to do equal, because if you don't do equal, it will grab this number from over here, but it won't save it as being part of the equations. It'll just pick the number that it is now. So you want to make sure you grab it from here, like that. And see how it's blue and it's in quotations? Now you have applied, and it's live. It will live in there.
Cool.
And oh, fucking hell. Pardon my French.
That was French. Ding, 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 ding.
Hey, what did you guys think of Wednesday's Swedish lesson in Swedish proverbs?
I
have no idea what you're talking about.
On Winter Garden?
Yeah. No, on the meeting we had with CAD team.
Oh. What's the part with the proverbs?
When
water over my head, that one?
Yeah, taking water over my head.
It's like Martin wanted to do an ice bucket challenge or something like that.
That'd be cool. David, I got a question for you. So,
yeah.
Okay, so I have successfully dimensioned the insertion point of this block. However, it can rotate around that point. How do I make it not do that?
Well, you might as well share your screen now that I can't.
Yeah.
I can't promise that that's going to automatically open.
Let me try to do that.
In fact, based on that sound I just heard, I'm not sure it will. Hold on. Let's see. Nope. Okay, guys, here's the dreaded... this is why I'm getting desktop SolidWorks, if you can see that.
Because it just...
I just directed away from your stream.
Oh. So it's telling me I can't open SolidWorks because I already have SolidWorks open, and then it names the computer it's on, and it's my computer.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
that's yeah.
Okay, so I'm pretty much really not able to do this anymore. So I'm gonna close my stream. If you want to open yours?
Yeah. Well, now are we gonna have Are you dealing? You're on read only, right?
Well, yeah. So you have to let me. I mean, I might as well let you do it now, Tim. But I just wanted to show you this. So I made this square.
I'm good.
Right?
I'm good watching your stream. I actually like watching you guys do it, because then I don't have to be catting and trying to manage anything else in the stream. So
this is why you have managers.
Yeah, it's relaxing.
Yeah.
But here's what's interesting about this block, though. If I open it here, also my SolidWorks a little bit laggy like the whole time. I don't really understand why. It's super annoying.
You should see how it is when using magnification programs. It's wacky.
These are all horizontal and vertical, but like they're not though, right?
What?
Yep.
They're at a weird angle. So how
it's because your if you notice your like insertion point, if you're able to see it, your insertion point is not vertical right now. It's at an angle because like I ran into that same thing.
So if you can edit the properties, can you right click on the block for the instance, and it's good like insertion point, and then it'll give you an insertion angle as well. There you go. Look down there, properties. 302 something degrees.
Yeah, you see how it? Yeah, there you go. Boom.
Insanity. Okay, there we go.
There you go. Yep, lock your angle.
Great. Sweet. Well, that's useful.
Mm-hmm. So you can define those things. Again, it's a block. It doesn't have an origin. It doesn't have a plane. It's just a block. So you can define stuff all you want. I just think that you just don't need to, personally.
Well, what do you mean by define stuff? Like, I mean, I want these dimensions, right? Obviously, these aren't whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I gotta have dimensions inside the block, right? So that's fine.
Right. I'm just saying, like you want the relationship like to the geometry within the block to be related to each other.
But definitely.
And you can also do vertical and horizontal. But if you're trying to like make the lines black, obviously you can do that. It's just that it's a block is not a defined thing. It is a free floating like thing.
Yeah. And since it's technically not constrained in context yet, it's
yeah. What is annoying also is that now I can't see it for some reason. So I don't know what happened to that.
Did you suppress it?
Because I need to rebuild. It's possible that I need to know. That didn't help. Now it's not.
Wait, have you right-clicked it and checked the visibility thing? There should be an eye.
Now I'm looking at this eye.
So this is the same thing I had when I couldn't see my reference geometry.
Huh.
I'm glad I'm not the only one with that.
Well, it was working okay before, but now the only thing I can do here is I can go to show layout.
Huh. You also have a very old version of this file. I don't know if that's maybe part of the issue.
Yeah, it's probably because I opened it right when you started.
Really? Because you're missing several components. You only have the song wheel.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is how much I saw, David. When I pulled up what you had done, this is exactly how much I was able to pull off the thing as well. I think when you crashed, you weren't saved.
No, I wasn't.
But that
because this is the one. This is the one that I opened right here. MB2, right? MB2 default.
Yeah. That shouldn't affect the amount of components. You didn't create many new ones.
And look, even the picture here in 3D space looks like it's got more stuff in it.
Yeah, so that's a component called box. Does that show up in that?
Huh. Okay, well, let me try opening it again. Maybe that's the trick.
Well, there's another issue, which is if you go into that into the session view on the right side, and you look at I'll do it with my I'm looking at the same thing. It's locked, right? Because David crashed while editing the file. He did not release privileges for that, and so you can't request privileges to get it out of a read-only mode.
Sweet.
Whoa! Wait, no.
Can you just release it in the web view?
Oh, you know what? That was sweet. So you're not watching my screen, but I was able to just right-click on it and hit unreserve, and now I'm clicking on it and hitting reserve, and now it's mine.
Nice.
Sweet. So you just take
Good
it
for
away
you.
from people.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can do that since I have admin privileges. Maybe I'm just a special snowflake, but I still have.
Now the problem is that it told me that it couldn't open it, but it's still loading SolidWorks. So I feel like I should let it load, let it fail to open, and then close it, and then open it again.
Right. Well, before you do anything, you have to wait for 3D Experience to load, because if you look at the top right corner of your screen, to wait for a music box to show up.
Yeah. So now nothing will show up over here in my session, obviously, because I haven't actually opened the file. And then I close it, do it again.
So Andre, did you open or did you add the search box?
On top here?
No. Sorry, in SolidWorks, my fault. The top right corner of your screen, there's a search box that is in SolidWorks Connected 2021. It's off by default, but it's like super important. That's usually how I find commands.
Oh,
but I noticed you had a search box there. I just wondered if you actually added it too.
I've done nothing. I've barely really even opened the software.
Ah, okay.
You're fired.
Yeah.
I am now learning the importance of being able to lock things in OBS Ninja so that you don't accidentally move the wrong thing. Just pointing that out. I'm having growth issues. I mean growth steps, growth actions happening in real time now. David, are you trying to bring it back up? Because I was interested. One of the things that I'm interested in understanding is how do we relate stuff to the block geometry and not break it?
Yeah, so I'm actually
properly reconstrained. Sorry,
that's okay. I'm closing my remote desktop, and I'm gonna try to open natively in Windows and see how that works. Just a second.
It is kind of annoying how long it takes for all this stuff to load. Like,
yeah, it's super annoying. Oh, hey, guess what?
Did you get the error again?
No, I just got an email from Starlink. They just they just offered me to subscribe to it.
Oh,
hey,
sweet!
cool.
You get one of those crazy antennas.
Yeah, I'm on the list.
I open from 3D space.
I applied to be on the list, but
I haven't applied.
Why would you want that if you have other internet?
Yeah, exactly. Aren't you like in city-ish-ville?
Yeah, I actually just got an internet upgrade too. But no, it's because
you want to fight the man.
Wow.
I don't really want to fight the man.
The man being the cable company, right? Like
speaking of unrelated queries, while this stream has been going on, I got a CAD job and a role in what the heck is it? In a commercial. Jesus Christ.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's funny because
I didn't know you were a child actor.
No, well, they're looking for somebody.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Technical. They're looking for somebody technical in my age. I got referred through the makerspace, and so they said, "Oh, maybe you could do some CAD drawing," and then they said in parentheses, "Observe that there will be somebody on site that can show you how to do this, so you don't have to have any experience on that front."
Oh, okay.
So I'm back up, by the way.
Okay.
Great.
Share your screen in Discord.
So when are you getting your desktop SolidWorks?
They told me maybe early next week.
Cool.
So where are we here? Share screen.
Here we go. Watch stream. Change.
Can you see my computer?
I can see.
No, I'm not live. Am I live? No. Wait. Yes, I am.
Yes,
wait,
you are.
Hold on a second.
We're watching your Discord.
Okay, got it. So this is.
What's interesting is that it told me that it failed to open it from 3D space, and then it opens it from 3D.
Yes, that happens all the time.
So, by the way, I'm back on.
Okay.
If I didn't already tell you that.
Yeah. So share the right window now. We're watching your Discord window.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I can unreserve files too. Oh no, nice. I can't.
Oh.
How do I? Hold on a second.
I'm clicking away from that. You're gonna give YouTube.
Okay.
You just shared the wrong window. That's all.
I'm just gonna go entire screen because I was sharing.
Yeah, I just closed down everything that like my iMessage where my wife might text me someone's phone number or something. I think I've done that before.
Okay, so you should probably see me now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have confirmed that my project is open, and actually, Andre, since I was talking about it, I might as well show you. This is the box I was talking about. So. This is actually how you find a lot of commands. I think it's super important. I don't know why they got rid of it.
Search knowledge space and search knowledge base.
Move my logo 3 times.
So do you have all of this stuff down here or up here?
You mean those?
I don't have that little search bar at all.
I think. Oh. I think you're showing your SolidWorks window and you are opening some dialogue that's not showing on screen.
Oh, for real? You don't see the box at the top right corner? That says...
I see it.
Okay, so if I open this dialog box, underneath it says Commands, SolidWorks Help, and My SolidWorks.
It was just smaller than I expected.
Okay, yeah, it resized. I can actually resize stuff if you want, because honestly, it happens when I go between remote desktop.
Yeah. Well, I don't have that at the moment, but maybe there's a display option?
I'm changing the resolution. Hold on. Wait, actually, I can't when I'm in remote desktop. Damn it. Okay. Oh, wait, can I? Nope. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, all I was going to mention is that you can add that later on, and I'll show you how after we open this. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it doesn't work for me because I just tried to search and it just crashed. So let's try it again.
Oh wow.
Okay.
10 minutes every time I want to get back up and running with this.
MB2. Okay. Rebuild.
Sure.
Okay, here I am.
Wow, so but you still have more there than was shown when I opened the same assembly.
Yeah, so my sub-assembly I added is not there. Is the box complete? Because I remember not being done with that. Okay, no, the box is saved. Let's see if I have...
but the box didn't show up for me. So I mean, like if we're doing this as a dry run for the MMX, right? You saved this. You were able you saved this on the cloud, right? Because you just opened it from the cloud.
Yeah.
Right. And when I opened this is mb2.asm, right? Solid Assembly or SLDASM.
Correct? Okay, right now it looks like it. Yeah. It's what is the symbol with the disk drive?
I don't
see
know.
that? Weird.
Well, so that's status. It says file is modified in session. That just means that you have changed it. It's reserved by me. I'm going to unreserve it.
Maybe that's it.
But I don't think I have the same because all the geometry from the box is not there in mine. All right, I just unreserved it.
Weird. I'm gonna save just see what happens.
Yeah, that is. I mean, I can't see the box either. I only see the song wheel, the little cylinder in the middle. Why wouldn't it show everything? Save active window. What about that one?
Okay. Okay, so now the status is file is not modified since last save, and it is not reserved.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just click save again.
Which is weird because I think you can't save it unless it's reserved by you. If you,
it's also saying read only, which is weird.
Yeah, so it'll say read only until you reserve it.
Really?
Yep.
So do I want to reserve it?
You do. So right click on the root one and hit reserve.
Oh, that's what the green key is.
Yep.
That's right.
And I don't know if you have to. You can hit Control A and select all, and reserve all of them. I was hoping that you could do it just by, doing it. Yeah. So now those are all yours.
And now it's not read only anymore.
Yep.
Weird. Just for fun, I'm gonna save and see what happens. Believe me, I've lost plenty of work in the past not saving SolidWorks files like at random times.
Right.
It's super annoying. Okay, so weird. Okay, so are we good, or do you guys what do you have in front of you guys now?
So when I open the same thing, I'm gonna try now that you've saved it. I'm gonna try reopening it from the whatever, and we're still at MB2, right?
MB2.
Yeah, I'm just gonna try to reopen my read-only version, and we'll see what we actually come up with.
Mine just crashed.
Oh, look, and now I have it
again.
Oh crap! You know what? It asked to rebuild, and for a second I saw your things, and then it didn't.
Huh.
That was weird. Hey, SolidWorks, fix it.
So, Tim, if I were you, I would leverage the fact. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say this on tape if this is going on YouTube. No, never mind. No.
All right, we'll hatch our conspiracy offline. Yeah. No, nobody will know.
Yeah, because didn't you all just crash all at the same time? Like, that's pretty bad.
It's not great. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, well, I'm in now, but I still don't see the box. It's only got the song wheel for me.
Yeah, it had the box for a second for me, and then it was giving me a prompt to rebuild, and then it was gone.
Yeah. Okay, so if you open your like music box project box in the top right corner,
yep,
you'll notice there should be
in SolidWorks.
Right. You'll notice it should say music box project and then dash something.
Right. Leader or
does
owner?
Yours... Right. It doesn't say author, huh?
No.
Something tells me that probably it's a matter of permissions, Tim. Like.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna need to figure all that out before we start doing the big machine.
Yeah, I get it. Because I've got common space author, MMT author, music box project author, and then I've created my own collaboration space called MySpace - not Facebook, and it's
funny
leader and owner.
Right.
Both of those have their own like heading, or so to speak. So I wonder if it's just not showing you my stuff because I'm the author and you're not the author, right?
Yeah.
Something.
I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I mean, it's maybe a clue.
Yeah, you have some of those. Mine only say leader and owner. Maybe it's because I haven't joined anyone else's projects, and all of the projects I have, I've created.
Right.
Yeah, and it's pretty much unusable for me because I just crashed again. So I'm just gonna let it rest for a little bit.
Okay. Well,
I actually haven't crashed a single time today, but I've only opened one file.
Woo!
So
yeah.
So is your computer like a beast, or is it just like? Are you just lucky?
It's pretty good. It's a 7700K, with a 1070, 32 gig RAM, water cooled.
Yeah.
Oh,
so, water cooled.
Whoa!
Wow,
pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah. You got a Hemi under there?
It's a pretty good space heater whenever rendering too.
Yeah. So one of my main problems is that I've got a Dell Precision workstation notebook, but the problem is that it's the one that's built into the what do you call it? The XPS 15 chassis. So it looks all kind of cool, but it's not cool. It's like it is a space heater also. And
actually the laptop I'm using the webcam off is just a plain ThinkPad. Nothing big grand. I just use it like to open projects on sites and not scroll around in them.
All right, so hey, we've been playing around with permissions for a while. I'm surprised anyone is still watching this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we need to get back to like.
Yeah. So let's make a part.
Jesus.
Okay. Awesome. So
let's do it.
Let's make a part. Block 5. Okay. So we did. I did save block 5, which I have not renamed for some reason. We will rename it. Polar rollers. Just for fun. Okay. So we're just going to take advantage of that.
You might have to fix the angle on the what do you call it? The support structure one, because that one can also rotate freely, I think.
I know what you're talking about. A second. Let me open the layout.
I'm trying to figure out this vibraphone step pulley mess too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what to do because I have to figure out what that other pulley looks like exactly.
What is it doing? My computer is not liking what's going on right now. It is actually there. It goes. Okay, and now you came back. Okay, what are we doing?
Oh god,
are we going away? Or are we coming? Come on. Nice. Sweet. Okay, remote desktop just disconnected. So do you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's back. All right, it was a problem with my remote desktop. I don't know what the hell the issue was. Okay, so you're talking about this guy's not fully defined? I can't move it. Andre, you said something was still moving?
The support bracket thing, the thing that has the little arc and the angly lines on it.
This guy?
Stream
yeah, that's part of it.
Behind.
So where is it? Oh, that's weird. It didn't save the. So I put a vertical constraint in that the last time. I don't know why I didn't do that. It must be that didn't survive the save.
Well, okay, this is what I was saying. It doesn't.
It's constrained
matter. Now. Okay.
Yeah, you just put angle of 0 and lock the angle on the block. And
but he did that already. But now he has to constrain it inside the block, right?
Inside the sketch. So
yeah.
As a block, it doesn't matter. I could put it wherever the hell I want it.
Right.
But when I finish with the block, it'll orient to where I told it to be in the layout. So if I click edit block, it'll just go back to where it's supposed to be. But it didn't, though. What the hell?
I think it's
what
because
just happened?
You have to constrain it to the insertion point if you haven't done that.
I did. And in fact, I just did it again. So I guess I must have broken that. But it's back. It's back now. Yeah.
Did you have to hit rebuild?
It wants to be. If you notice, there's a rebuild. It's going to close the layout again. Whatever. Okay. Maybe if we're lucky, it'll crash again. Okay, so that's constrained. Remember, this wasn't, though. I still have to constrain this, right? Yeah. Make that. And normally I wouldn't constrain the top, but the problem is that I tried adding a midpoint to this, and it also wouldn't cooperate for some reason. I wanted to constrain the midpoint to the top plane, but it was just wouldn't let me do it. So I ended up dimensioning the top point to the origin. It was a mess, but either way, this layout sketch I think is now complete. Oops. show layout. Or complete enough for our purposes right now.
Right.
Okay, so next up, we're going to add a component because let's make a roller. How's that sound?
Yep.
That sounds good.
Great.
Okay, so in this case, we do not have any components or parts selected. That's important because you don't want to insert one into another one. So we are at the assembly level, and under insert components, we're going to add a new part. And here we can name it. Let's call it puller roller 1, just for fun. Okay, this is the green check mark I was talking about. If you can see it based on the resolution, but right next to my cursor is a green check mark. I'm not 100% certain what that does. It goes away when I click the mouse. It also goes away if I click escape. So I generally have been clicking escape. I honestly don't know what it means, and that's just I know SolidWorks pretty well, but
they were trying to it's trying to give you a select a starting plane for your first sketch or something like that.
So that's what I originally thought, and that's why I was pressing escape a lot, because I didn't really want to do that.
Yeah.
But I don't remember that doing anything. In fact, it didn't do it. It did nothing. I just clicked it. It did nothing.
Yeah.
And honestly, it also did not activate the component, meaning I can't edit it now. I'm still in the assembly right now. I'm not in my component.
Huh.
So I still need to edit the component. So normally I would expect that to automatically have happened. So there's probably a setting I need to change in SolidWorks to make that automatically do that. But either way, because of that, my origin planes are the same as the assembly origin plane.
Yep.
And I am fixed, but if I float it, then those planes will lose their relationship, and they'll end up having to be. I'll have to mate them after that.
Right.
So,
but I think we like. Do we like the idea of how? I mean, let's say if we're making a part on the MMX, right? We already have the skeleton, right? Wouldn't we want it to remain fixed and just have the origin be the same as the origin of the master assembly? And then just
so that is a philosophical question. You really have to ask yourself, one way or the other. I think that it makes a lot of sense to have it, both have their arguments.
Right.
So
you're saying
I know
we can
that
just
the
pick
old
one and make it a rule.
Well, yeah. So we'll pick one and we'll make it a rule. I actually see arguments for both ways, so I don't want to influence your decision because I'm. Whatever. I'm willing to accept that.
I'm going to delegate that decision to Andre. Andre.
Yeah.
Skeleton,
so what I'm thinking about is the vibraphone assembly, right? So that thing's tilted at an angle, but it would be convenient, if the subassembly or whatever that ends up being in the SolidWorks form is all at right angles, because then you can just do your patterns better, and then you just take the entire block and then shift it. So I don't know if that means that the part.
Yeah.
The subassembly.
That's a good argument.
Yeah.
That's a good argument to have every part or component or subassembly have its own origin. And honestly, again, there are good arguments for that, and I think that's one of them. I like being able to open a part separate from this assembly, which you can do, and work with it by itself, knowing that the origin is something you can look at rationally and understand why it's there, rather than just trust that it's part of the main assembly later on. The other thing is having the skeleton means you have reference geometry that you can assign to those origins in the parts. So again, there are arguments for it, and which I like. There are also arguments against it, and but if you want my vote, if you really want it, I say every part should probably have its own origin.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would be in the assembly side, you would be aligning that part just to the skeleton.
Yeah.
And actually, the origin of the part doesn't really matter in the assembly context, right? I mean, your
No.
You're aligning, the outer ring of some feature to something, in the skeleton, right?
Right. So the only like real tangible benefit to including the origin, having them all converge in one spot, is you don't have to mate anything to the origin, or sorry, like you can fix it in space to the origin planes, right? If that's where you want it, and like that might make sense in some cases. I think for a machine with 10,000 mechanical parts, I don't think it makes sense, but especially when you have the vibraphone at a funny angle.
Okay.
So like there are philosophical reasons to have it either way. In fact, I can tell you right now, I am for that system. However, in these parts, I did not even bother with that yet. So I'm kind of a hypocrite in that way.
Yeah, what I'm thinking about right now is like if we're gonna have a PMMA pipe, right? I feel like the pipe maybe should be in this sort of scenario where its origin is fixed, so that you just bring the pipe in and then fix it in place. But then the stuff at either end of the pipe, those could be like, so like for example, I'm thinking about the marble drops, right? So the marble drop is like a kind of like a self-contained little assembly that has the input for the pipe on one side and like the output on the bottom. And so that could be something which is aligned using this layout geometry, right? So you're like, here's where the origin of that should be, and then you make that part separately. You just fix the origin so it's here. Then you have the pipe between that and something else, and maybe that pipe is somehow a little bit differently aligned. Does that make sense what I'm describing? Because like I can imagine you could want to change the angle of the marble drops slightly, like move the entire assembly up and over a little bit or something like that.
Yeah, especially for things like instruments where he might actually change where they are.
Yeah,
he might, right? I mean, he might just like, oh, the snare drum is going to be 2 inches higher now.
So hello, guys.
I guess it could kind of make sense to have that as like as like here's where this entire assembly goes, and we can move that. But then like the pipe has to be sort of like a belt kind of thing where the shape of the pipe is determined by all these other things. I don't know if that's the scenario where you would do the sweep in the assembly rather than in a separate part, or.
Oh yeah, so yeah.
Now go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's one of the things where I was thinking we would have all of the information kind of in the skeleton, right? So that you were, like each of the points where a PMMA pipe originates would have a dot and a circle, well, a circle with a center point, right? And you would just, if things move, then, the start and end move themselves, right? You don't have to redo that sweep.
Yeah, we have to have the entire path of the line in the skeleton, so that way it doesn't intersect with the other pipes somehow.
Yes.
That would be.
And I'm super excited for doing those 3D sketches in SolidWorks. I'm like,
yeah, that's going to be good.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so let's make a part. And I'm very interested to see, David, how you do this. And let's say if we make up a diameter for the roller, or if you make up some dimension that isn't already in the global dimensions, how when you're making a part, you can make a dimension which is not global and not actually specific to that part. That's what I'm interested in.
Wait, not global but not specific?
It is global and not specific to the part. Like, so when you're making a part, how do you make a assembly level global dimension?
Oh, well, that's easy. I can show you that.
Yeah, lead on, please.
I don't recommend it, though. I think probably they should live in the assembly, but
that's what I'm
either
saying.
way.
That's what I'm saying. I want them to live in the assembly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
okay.
Create on.
Well, so typically I would do that here then. You would I mean, I'm editing the part, so I can't really edit the equations here, but okay. So polar roller number 1, we are editing that now. So remember, I have fixed this. There's an F here, right? But we can make it, if once I close this, I can make it float. So, those, in fact, let's do that now. Edit component, we'll make it float. So it shows up here. And now this component and the planes don't actually exist. Like, they look like they're there, but they're not. See, I can
Oh gosh. That gives me a physical queasiness.
Yeah, I mean, technically they're all in the same spot. They look weird, but they all intersect.
That is very horrifying to me.
Yeah, but they've either way. I can put this plane anywhere I want once I make the part. So, for example, let's just say on the front plane, we start a sketch, and I put in a circle. Here. And let's say I make it coincident with that guy. And let's say I make it at...
Do you have to convert the geometry from that other block in order to bring it into a reference that's...
What do you mean?
I mean, can you actually fix it in place on that block? Because what you're doing,
you'll see.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay. You'll see. I'm referencing the sketch to something, but actually, I never actually changed the planes. By the way, you notice they're still in the same spot. Yeah. Nothing actually moved. But once I create the physical object, you'll see I can just move it around because it's not fixed. It's floating. It's just the same thing as in Fusion. What the hell do they call it in Fusion? It's
what now?
I can't remember the name of what, like when you have a part that is, well, a component that is in an assembly and it does not have, no. It doesn't have a joint to something else or a constraint to something else.
Grounded.
Yeah, I guess that's just a component.
Yeah.
No,
grounded.
Grounding. Thank you. I just forgot the word.
Everything.
So grounding is the same thing as fixing versus floating.
Right.
Okay.
So
cool.
Okay. So we've made a circle. We have made it in the position it's supposed to be based on our block and our layout sketch. Now we need to dimension it. And we can go back to the, what do you call it? The global variables from our assembly, or we can make our own right now. If you want to make your own, you press equals. And if you notice, global variables pops up, but there's our list. Boom.
Yep.
So this is going to be our polar roller diameter, right? So where is that? Polar diameter. Boom, 25. Enter, and there it is.
Yep.
That's how you add it. Or actually, we never really added it.
We never really added it. Yeah. So my question is, like, I'm pretty sure you don't have the width of that roller when you extrude it, right? Which we want to be at 72 millimeters, right? So if you can extrude that, that's a secondary thing. It's not in the sketch, but that might be, that's a parameter, right? Like you haven't had that. So can you extrude that? Yeah. And then when you give that variable, make sure that variable is not in the part, but is in the assembly. Yeah.
So eagle-eyed viewers probably have already been screaming at your computers. I just noticed it myself. I am in the assembly right now. I just created a sketch in the assembly. That was not great. So we're going to undo all of that. That's why those global variables show. Actually, they should have never shown up.
So not only is it bad enough that Eric divulged that he was not paying attention to the stream that he's in by playing with the vibraphone, but then he got Voglithium in the YouTube comments to comment that he's here for questions. So he's actually trying to distract someone watching the stream, trying to distract someone from working on. Okay, thanks. Thanks both of you guys. Yeah.
It's my evil master plan.
Okay. So I am in the component now. I'm editing the part you're editing. There you go. See, it's not made it. This is actually the dialog box I should have known was supposed to show up. But it's been a long day.
So it can't read it at this resolution. What does that say?
Okay, it says the part you are editing is not mated or fixed in space. Adding in context features. Good for you.
Yeah. Just
adding in context features may produce undesirable results. It is recommended that you position the component before doing so. So this is SolidWorks warning that this component is not fixed in space right now. It is literally without definition in its location. So because of that, anything you make will be a relationship that is not
pre-broken.
It's what?
It's pre-broken.
Yeah, basically, it's just not a good idea.
Yeah.
So we're going to go back and fix that, literally, by closing the edit component part, and then right-clicking again and fix. So now when we edit, it's all in context with itself. The issue here, though, is that, remember, when we added this component, we did not relate where it is, right? So its origins are shared with everything else. So we could right now, if we wanted to, do a little changing of that by mating it. So let's, where are our mates here? Mate, here we go. So now we are going to mate our.
So I think I just figured out. So I mean, if you're actually designing a part with the assembly context open around it, right? Then starting it already fixed, which seems like a dumb way to mate things. That actually makes sense because you're designing it in situ, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't want something fixed if you're bringing in a part that was already designed from the outside.
That's very true.
Right. So in this context, having things be fixed, and I've always think like, oh, it's fixed. That's just a cheap way of fixing it. Well, if you're designing it in this assembly, having it start fixed as default makes a lot of sense.
It does, and that's another good argument for not screwing with the origins.
Yep.
But at the same time, I'm just going to give you an example of how to do it in case you want to put your origin in a convenient spot for the part that you're making now.
Yep. Okay.
So I usually start out with mating the front planes. So because honestly, they're going to probably stay the same anyway in this case because it's consider it the center line of the device.
Yep. I'm with you.
So then you go to the top and the right planes because we're doing a shaft that is perpendicular to the front plane. Kind of makes sense to make those two planes be the center line,
right?
So if you made an axis from those two planes, then they would be coincident to both of those. So, all right. So next you would do. Okay. So now we don't need those selected anymore. Okay. So now we want our right plane parallel to our other right plane. And then add it. Okay. But we also want it to be coincident with that.
I thought you were doing a roller. Wouldn't you do it to the point? Oh, I see. No, sorry, there's lag in the display.
What are we doing? Is it crashing? I hope it's not crashing.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Right plane with right plane. The hell? I'm going to delete that. I don't know why that showed up because I thought I did the front planes. Let me start over. All right. Redo. Okay. Front plane of our puller roller to our front plane. Check. Boom. Right plane of our puller roller to the parallel. Wait, did I make that? Oh, I did make it. Good. Parallel to our right plane of our part.
And you could do a distance mate too as well, right? Well, actually, no, you don't want distance because you're going to set it on that point, right?
Yeah. So now we're doing right plane to the point. Boom. See how it all moved?
Beautiful. Yep.
Cool. So the top plane doesn't change because top plane is the top plane.
Yep.
But at the same time, it still hasn't been defined yet. So we kind of need to also make it coincident. So top plane, coincident, check. And that should be fully defined now. So, yeah. You see how it's neither fixed nor floating anymore?
Yep.
It is a
It's fully
defined component now.
So if we're designing the big machine this way, right? Then all of the mates in our assembly are like mates between the planes of subcomponents, and then we're designing it in context rather than designing parts and doing mates between features on those parts.
Yeah, you do the mates and the features between the parts if you're talking about stuff. But and that's kind of one of my arguments about parts versus assemblies.
Yeah.
Right? Because like once it becomes an assembly, now you have to relate every single thing to each other. And it's like if nothing moves, what's the point? Right?
Yeah.
Like those marble paths or tracks, I can't remember what we were calling them, but like, you know, it's a bunch of pieces of plywood that are screwed together with a couple pieces of metal and nothing moves in relation to each other.
Nope.
You know, that is a perfect example of a part that has multiple bodies.
Yeah.
So it's just simpler.
It's quite nightmare, like CAD to manufacturing wise, since in design it's flat, but it actually flexes. So you're gonna have to have two different. Yeah.
Well,
but either way, it saves bandwidth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking of like even with small assemblies. I remember looking at lists of mates for things that I have built, and it's just like there's so many mates, you know, and so.
So what if you use the lock mate? You could just lock things to each other.
Yeah, you can do that too.
Yep.
So
Eric, your
anyway,
comment
in
the comments, I think we should rename the stream to Nerd Stream. All in word. Yeah.
So I haven't seen anything.
Who's that guy? He's mean.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So where are we? We have now located this new part we've made.
Half an hour now. We've relocated our axes, our origin, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, I just
caught. Has it been 2 hours already?
Yep.
Oh man. Okay.
Okay. I just caught something that I missed also. I made the top plane coincident to the other top plane. I meant to make it coincident to this point. So I am going to change that. Right. Sorry about that.
You know, while this is tedious, I mean, this kind of level of detail and understanding of this is going to save our butts when we're actually trying to make the MMXT.
That is true. That is true.
Like if we can go through this level of setting up every part the right way so that, you know, whatever.
Where is
whatever funny man business?
Just locking them all into place, right?
There we go. Okay. Now I got it. Boom.
Nice. Okay. So Okay.
So now there is a coordinate system, or the origin really, that is coincident with our datum that we got from our layout sketch. That's the whole point of this.
Yep.
And that came from the block. So now we're in our part, or we're not in our part yet, actually. We can be right now. So edit component. Okay. So now we are in the component, and actually we can get rid of this layout sketch at this point because our datum is the same thing as our datum here. So we can leave it or not. I actually think that it's a good idea to turn it off, only because it depends on if you want to include the sketch or just trust your datum, right?
Right.
So that's another philosophical decision I think that has to be made. Do you move your datum to a point you like and then use that datum from now on as your sketch reference, or do you move your datums just like you should and then continue to use the sketch points that also defined the datum? So it's I don't know. You have to decide that. In this case, I'm going to turn it off for now. So now this is just our part with its own origin. And let's just say we want to make our roller. So I think in this case, it's pretty clear that you can't use the right plane if you want to do a revolve. Or sorry, the front plane if you want to do a revolve. If you do a revolve, we'd have to do it on the right plane.
Yep.
But I like surface modeling. And I like.
I noticed that. I heckin' noticed that actually. You were using surface revolves and thicken commands.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah.
That's
so
voodoo.
there's reasons for it. The surface like environment, so to speak, allows you to do a lot of stuff that you can't do in the other sketch, like the solid environment. Like for example, offset surfaces. I like to use offset surfaces. So generally speaking, I will sketch on the datum planes, and then I will do an offset surface to the face of wherever that thing should be, and then I delete the other surface. And so now I have like the sketch geometry like on a very robust plane, and I've defined how far to distance it away, instead of creating a plane specifically for the purpose of sketching on and then doing an extrude from that position. So you're sort of making your breadcrumbs, your digital sort of trail of data. I think for me more logical, but maybe not for everybody.
You're gonna have to show me an example of what you mean, because that you just
Yeah.
confused the crap out of me.
But that is an interesting work approach for sure.
Okay, so now if you wanted to make a circle that is defined by an equation from the assembly within this part, can you do that?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah. So on the front plane, we'll do it. We'll do a surface extrude.
I mean, they're not named global variables for no reason.
For no reason. Yeah, good point. Okay, so we know our datum is here, so let's just go ahead and put a circle there. This is a big one. We don't need it that. In fact, we don't even need our. Oops, I didn't mean to click that. We can turn off our planes. We don't need them anymore. Okay, so I am going to make the circle. Now remember, we're in the part right now. We are not in the assembly. So if I do the same thing and go equals, see how nothing shows up? Because our part does not have global variables. So here's what we have to do. This is annoying, but basically open this up. Now I'm going to double click this. And now do you see how this is now still here? Whereas before it was just covered by something else?
What did you double click on? Sorry.
The placeholder dimension.
Okay. Oh, so you have to dimension it and then come back and edit it again?
If you want to do it by picking from the feature tree, yes.
Yeah, okay.
But I could also do it a different way. Let me show you the other way. Okay, so pretend we were there. When I do a dimension, that thing goes away. See how like the feature tree?
Oh, I see. Yeah, because it gives you the dialog box instead of the feature tree.
So what am I going to do? Well, SolidWorks has this like secondary feature tree. I think it has a name. I can't remember. The flyout, I think it's what
the one
call
that's
it.
in the workspace.
Yeah, and it ends up being here. And then you have to do this, and then you have to find it. I don't like doing that, right? I think that, to me, this is more of a waste of time and frustration than just going with the placeholder.
Yeah. Pressing
escape a couple times, double clicking it, and then coming over here and grabbing. Where is my? Oh, there it is. My cursor disappeared. And then just going polar diameter. So actually, eagle-eyed people who are probably screaming at their TV or their computers right now have noticed I didn't press equals. So guess what it did? It pulled this number from the polar diameter. It didn't associate it. It gave it that dimension, but it didn't like make it loop back to it. So now we have to delete equals and then do the same thing. Go over here.
Did you do that just to point it out, or did you miss that?
No comment. What do you think?
I think you're a great mentor.
Okay, so great. Now we've got a circle. Believe it or not, that's all this sketch needs, because it just needs the diameter for our surface extrude. So I'm going to exit the sketch. I don't think
We're 5 minutes
Say what?
over. We're 5 minutes over our intended
Oh.
stream duration, so let's do it quick.
All right. Surfaces, extruded surface. It's probably going to select it already.
Hey, you could do this as a revolved surface, but as a single line.
Don't encourage him. Don't encourage. Oh gosh, he's already doing it. Okay.
Good.
We're going to do mid plane because we're doing it, remember, from the center line.
Yeah.
And the length, I do not have a global variable for this yet, but this is an example of creating one. Let's just say we want it to be 100.
72 for number.
72?
Yep.
So I can't do equals here. Holy shit, I can do equals. You shouldn't be able to do that here. That's okay. That is interesting. I thought they took that away, but they didn't.
Go on.
72. Okay. So now when I select the feature, it should show 72, and there it is, right here.
And you can change that now to
Yes.
PW.
Oh. If you click it once, it doesn't bring it up. You have to.
What is 72? Is that like 3 inches?
A little bit less.
No, that's under 3 inches.
It's under 3 inches.
Yeah. So here we can also do equals, and there are no global variables. This proves we never added the other one to our part. So we would have to come over here and select it. The only thing is that is not a global variable that we have. So how do you add it to here? I don't actually think we can do that in this case.
That was my question.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right. That is what you asked. So I think that you have to add it from the assembly, not in the part. Yeah, but I mean, it's not hard. It's also not hard.
And I mean, I guess it's a sound. Oh God, I guess it's a sound top-down approach of it. As to not clutter the top assembly with individual designers' parameters.
Well, we only want the parameters in there to be really key parameters, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But there are going to be places where, as you're designing, you're like, okay, well, this is kind of something that I want to be a global variable, and so that had been my question, like, how can you?
But maybe it could be like a global variable, but just for that subassembly.
Then that would be a local variable.
Well. It'd be a global variable for maybe 5 parts. But
yeah, if you were in a different assembly view, yes, that's correct.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah, so you have nested.
Okay.
Okay,
that's
works.
A nice little pulley you've got there.
That's what they all say.
So I mean, you made the surface and then you thickened it to the inner dimension, and then you. That seems backwards to me.
I did not thicken that. That is not thickened.
Oh. Okay.
It is still a surface model.
Oh, Jesus.
So instead of SolidWorks, you're actually doing HoloWorks.
Yeah, so if you were to see this, it is infinitely thin. It has no mass.
So you have end walls there. How did you create them?
That's called a planar surface. So the first thing I did was a ruled surface. I'll show you.
Yeah.
After I did the extrude, this is an infinitely thin tube. I used a ruled surface, which says that I took an offset from here to there. And then I just did the same thing on the other side.
Okay, cool.
And then I did another ruled surface. And then I did a surface, they call it a surface plane here, but they call it planar surface here. I don't know why they don't call it the same thing. But either way, it's a planar surface to close it off. So now it's a fully enclosed thing.
And you can just make that a B-rep, I guess. Well, it is a B-rep, but you could make it a solid model.
Yeah, so I can make it solid by merging the entities and creating it solid. So basically, I just select everything. Actually, they make you do it one at a time. I forgot about that.
This is going to give me nightmares, David. I had because you're changing my my impression of like knowing the way it's supposed to work. And
I've never seen it done like this. But
yeah, I mean, I can. There's 2 other ways that may. Anyway.
So now you have one solid body. So basically, with one single sketch, with a diameter of the outside on one plane, with a bunch of surface modeling features, you can create all kinds of shit like this. And every step is parameterized. You know, you can tell it to do something very specific. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying this is the right way to do it. And let's just say, for example, this body already existed, and I just want to make the outside roller. So let's just back up and say, okay, I'm just making the rubber coating, the roller on the outside. And I know that the outer diameter or the inner diameter, whichever one you have defined, is whatever we said this was, 25. So let's say I know I want the outside to be rubber. I know the outside diameter is going to be 25 millimeters. So we can do thicken, select the surface. You can select whether it's mid-plane, so it thickens in both directions, thickens just to the outside or just to the inside. In this case, we know it's just to the inside. And let's say we want it 2.5 millimeters thick. So we're going to make it 2.5 millimeters thick. This creates a solid of that size.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I would do most of the time. It's more of a party trick showing you the knit surface thing. But either way, this you can do most of the time.
But hey, David, this is 2 features.
It is.
You know what would do 1 feature?
Revolve.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But Revolve, first of all, requires you to use a sketch.
That is true. That is true.
Has a lot of features in it.
Right. And I mean, yeah, I guess your approach might make sense, like, by a couple of by like a pretty big deal on more complex objects, but I'm not really seeing it on this simple object. Or maybe I'm just too ingrained with solid modeling. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, it's cool to see that it can be done this way. And I know that when I watched some of those CAD speedrun competitions, like there were definitely like the guys who were more used to the surface modeling environment were able to do things that, you know, I wouldn't have figured out how to do it. So I think it has a time and place. It's a little bit of a mind bender for me. But
yeah, so it might not be right for this, but honestly, it's usually what I go to. But I mean, I can show you quickly without creating a new model because it's already like that. An example of why I did surface modeling and in the box, because the box is actually where that kind of shines.
Yeah, that's a big hollow thing. So,
so in this case, let me turn on editing it so I can do this. Roll back. Okay.
Okay, I think I have to go, unfortunately.
Mm.
Yeah, I do have an appointment coming pretty quick here.
Well, okay, I don't have to open Pandora's box or whatever, but this is a very good example of why surface modeling does work quite well. So I can show you guys another time.
Yeah, do it quick. Just do it quick.
Gotcha. Okay, so this is where I did a surface. I did a surface offset. I did a body delete keep. So I got rid of the original, which you could actually do anytime or never. I thickened it. Then I mirrored that thickened body. So now I've got 2. Then I did I did a surface here in the right spot. Then I did a surface offset down there in the right spot. And then I thickened each of them. So now, literally with one sketch, I guess there were 2 sketches. I did the entire box.
Still, okay. So what the optimization there is that you're making these surfaces based on geometry, but you're not actually having to make a sketch for each of those other parts.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't mind the sketches, especially since SolidWorks hides it with the feature.
Right.
But yeah, okay, I see it.
So there's a ton of geometry that's being inferred by the feature and not the sketch.
Yes.
And that simplifies a ton. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Cool. All right. So, hey, well, let's cut it off there. We had our learning moment. I want to thank all 3 of you guys for hanging out with me, and both of the people watching. Yeah, I think so. For next week, I'll try to take David's skeleton and get the whole assembly back to the level of detail I had it at before. And we'll try to we'll kind of get back into some of the more refining the features of this thing again. And
hey, Tim.
Yes.
Oh no, I'll talk to you. Wait, you have an appointment, right?
I do.
I was thinking, what if for the next stream we did like we had an agenda, like, oh, you model this part and you model this part.
I like that.
And yeah,
you mean have like a real time live catting session?
I mean, that can be
that's
boring.
Gonna be all of us not talking. Yeah.
Oh, you've never obviously never sat with me when I've been catting.
Well, if all of you are doing it, and I can talk at you.
We should just do like everyone does the thing beforehand.
Yeah, no. I found it a lot easier when I've done the work beforehand and I'm talking through what I did rather than when I'm doing it online, because it's never as fast as you think it actually is.
Yeah, that's probably good. Just walk through the feature tree, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to admit, my presenter skills are like not well honed. So if I talk on it, sorry about that.
Well, I mean, you see, we made a very simple part, and just talking through all. The assumptions that we're making and what we're figuring out about the process is all good, but we did take about 45 minutes to make one roller. So
yeah,
yep, we're almost up there with corporate now.
Yeah. All right, so let's sign off there, and we'll come back and so I want to work with all of you guys offline. Maybe I want to try to get the model back to where we had it last week. And start talking about flow sensors and all that kind of stuff again. The thing I think is interesting is maybe try to think about having a bolt-on area where we can bolt a paper punching mechanism onto this that shares the feeding mechanism. So you could use the same device, maybe something that, like, we have the music box be something that can come out. You can take the music box off of it and you can put onto it a servo-driven paper puncher, so the same machine could be used for both making the music and then transfer it into another mode.
Oh, that would be cool.
To be your coffee maker.
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll talk about all that next week.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, guys, and thank you for both of you guys watching. No, there's at least 3 or 4 people watching, and we'll pick it up again next week.
All right.
Cheers, guys.
Okay.
Thanks again. Yep. Bye.